class is going to be about editing video on your cell phone. So it's just not about, so the class is going to really entail all what goes into making good video, capturing good sound, things like framing, and all the important factors that go into making professional video. My background is I'm a multimedia producer, so I do anything that has to do with integration of sound, speech, audio, video, and video graphics. And that's one of the reasons why I'm teaching the class. So what this class is going to focus on, especially this first week, is how to capture good video. And as simple as it sounds, there are tips and tricks that we can use so you can capture better video, better sound, things like how to hold your phone and how to position yourself to get better lighting when you're using your cell phone to shoot video. So we're going to start with number one. The first thing that's really important, which a lot of people overlook, is cleaning your camera lens. And that's one of the things I encourage people to do before you shoot any kind of video or even a photograph. What you want to do is take your phone out, take a look at the lens, and make sure it's free of lint, fingerprints, dirt, smudges, any of that sort of thing. The other thing too that we want to do is make sure that you hold your phone horizontally. And we'll get into the reason why you should hold it horizontally. And also there are times when you don't want to hold your phone horizontally, you want to hold it vertically. And by that I mean, you know, some people shoot video like this. One of the things you want to do when you want to shoot professional video or video with your camera, you want to hold it horizontally like this. Another thing that I encourage people to not do because it reduces the quality of your video is not to use digital zoom. And digital zoom is when you have your camera like this and you use your fingers, you know, and you expand the picture. What happens is the picture, even though it's bigger on your cell phone, the bigger the picture gets on your cell phone, the lower the resolution, the lower the quality of the video that you will record. So we'll get into a little bit of this as we move further into the program. So one of the things that I encourage people to do is to, you know, get a little microfiber cloth and just, you know, wipe your lens. It's better to use microfiber. I don't recommend using paper like toilet paper or household kitchen cleaning products because the fibers in paper actually will put small micro scratches on your lens. The lens on your phone comes with what's called an oleophobic fingerprint resistant coating. And it's there to resist smears, fingerprints, and that sort of stuff. But if you use things like paper on it, over time, it'll scratch, put micro scratches in the coating, and that in turn will reduce the quality of your video. So to clean your lens, one of the things you want to do is take some distilled water, tap a little bit on your microfiber cloth, and just gently wipe the lens. If you don't have distilled water available, use bottled water. If you don't have bottled water and it's an emergency, you can use tap water, but tap water has a little bit of chlorine in it. It also has some minerals and things that are not very lens friendly. One of the things that you don't want to use is don't use the harsh chemicals like Windex or 4-9 cleaner to clean your lens because that destroys the oleophobic coating on your lens. So one of the things that we see a lot of people do is holding the phone like this to record video. And I want to encourage people to not do that. Where's my other phone? There we go. And the reason being is, we'll get into that a little bit as we move a little bit further down, but typically you want to hold your phone horizontally because you get the full frame of video. Where when you hold it vertically and you play it on a regular TV or big screen TV, you are actually only going to use 1/3 of the available video space, framing space. And I'll demonstrate that shortly as we move further on. So if we take a look here, this is what happens when you hold your phone vertically. You get this sort of framing. This is a 9:6 framing. When you take this and you play it on a big screen or a computer screen, what happens is all this area is blacked out. This area is also blacked out. And that's why I encourage you to hold it vertically like this. So you see, when you shoot video horizontally, then you can get and fill the entire frame of video. And this is what happens when you do this on a computer screen. Now, if you get your video and you play it on a big screen TV at home, you'll discover that it's the same thing. You get these black bars and you get the really, really compressed video. You don't see much. And you get the other black bar here in the end. When you hold it like this, you get the full frame. You actually get to see more detail. That's why when we go to movie theaters, all of the screens have this sort of a shape, you know? It's because it's called a 16:9 aspect ratio. So if you want to shoot better video, shoot it horizontally. Now, there are exceptions. If you look at Instagram pictures, the Instagram screens are square. So it doesn't really matter too much if you go back and forth, because what Instagram does, it really reduces the amount of video that you can upload. Not sure why they do it that way, because they're the only ones that do square video now. But still, if you're shooting video, I'd encourage you to do it using shooting horizontally, because even on Instagram, if you turn your phone sideways and you've shot 16:9 video, it'll display it like this. So it's always better to go for the 16:9 aspect ratio. Now there's another aspect of shooting video that's really important, and that is using digital zoom. Almost all of the new cameras on cell phones have what's called digital zoom. And what that does is, when you hold your phone, you know, and you blow up the picture, it'll zoom into the picture. And that is called optical digital zoom. It's not really zooming into the picture. What it's doing is it's blowing up your picture. Now, the bigger your picture gets, the lower quality the video, the less crispy it is, you know? So if you're shooting video, it's best to not use digital zoom at all. Don't blow up the photo, because if you look here in this demonstration, you'll see what happens with digital zoom. You see how you can't really see too much detail. It's pretty blurry. And this is what you get with digital zoom. But it gives you the illusion of blowing up the picture, but it doesn't. Optical zoom, or the natural way that a camera will shoot, will look nice and it'll look crispy. Because one of the things we have to realize is that camera lenses don't see like people. They don't see like how we see. The mechanics for capturing video or pictures using a camera is entirely different than the way we see naturally with our eyes. So we have to keep these things in mind if we want to shoot high quality video. Okay, so another thing that we can do, the reason we're going through all of this is because if you want to edit good video, you have to capture good video. And this lesson is about the things we have to consider to capture high quality video and also to capture high quality sound. Because once you capture high quality video and high quality sound, then the rest is easy. You don't have to do a whole lot of editing, because from the get-go, you're capturing a very high quality material that you're going to use for editing. So one of the things we want to do is called exposure lock. what exposure lock is, when you start shooting with your camera is always making adjustments to the autofocus and also the auto exposure. Exposure is how much light the camera lets into the lens. So when your camera is in auto mode, your camera is assuming you want the brightest picture, the best possible photo, given the external circumstances. So it automatically adjusts this for you on the fly as you're shooting. So if you're shooting in a very bright space, the computer and the camera will reduce the light in there to make sure you have an even picture. If the outside environment is a little bit dark, it'll open up your aperture so that more light comes into the camera lens. So it compensates for the fact that outside is a little bit darker. Another important thing to consider is putting your phone in airplane mode when you're shooting. So let's say you're at a party, someone's about to blow out a cake, and you're shooting video, and then you get a phone call. Well, the phone call is going to come in and interrupt your video. Not a good look, and also it disturbs everyone else. So one of the things I encourage people to do, if you're shooting something very important and it's an important moment, and you're trying to capture that moment, put your phone in airplane mode. So that way you don't get an incoming call or text that'll interrupt the video. And also it's not going to add extra sound that you don't want to your video. Another thing that a lot of the newer cell phones have is what's called time-lapse in slow motion. Now, the way video works, it's quite simple. What a video camera really does, it takes about 30 pictures a second. And as it's taking the pictures, it's capturing the movement. So that's what most cell phone cameras are capable of. They capture that many pictures per second. When you do time lapse, instead of capturing 30 pictures a second, what the camera does, it takes 1 picture per second, very slow. And it has this effect of speeding things up. When we move to slow motion, it's the exact opposite of time lapse. Instead of capturing 30 frames a second, they can capture up to 240 frames per second. So it takes a lot more pictures in the same time duration. I'll show you examples of these in the next few slides. So this is an example of exposure lock. So the picture on the left right here, this is what the camera would do naturally by itself, because it was daytime. It calculates how much light is outside in the environment, and it goes, hey, you know what? I'll adjust the camera lens and everything else so I take a picture like this. Now, when you do exposure lock, that is, you tell the camera, don't use the automatic settings. Let me determine how much light comes into the lens. Then you can get photographs like this. Now, a little known secret is a lot of movies that are shot, the night scenes are actually done during the day. And what they do is they reduce the amount of light that comes into the lens so that it has the appearance of it being shot at night or in the dark. So this is something you can do. Now, a lot of people will use exposure lock. Sometimes you can use it as an effect. So there's no hard and fast rule for you to say, okay, your exposure lock has to be a certain way. I'll demonstrate that in the next slide.
So Victor, on your camera, are you saying that there is a button on your camera that you could just click on to control the exposure lock or to turn it on or whatever?
Yes, and we'll get into that. I'm not sure we'll probably make it in this class, but probably the next class. We're going to look into the software that controls things like exposure lock, also what you would call the major element in the picture. So you can tap on your camera lens and then it'll go. So you can look at a frame and you can go, you know what, camera, focus on just this aspect of the picture so that she is always in focus and everything else outside that frame I'm not worried about. So there are the software in your phone will allow you to do that.
Okay, and we're gonna learn how to use those features in this class. Is that
Absolutely, yes.
okay? And the
So
same thing.
what I'm doing now is we're going to talk about this stuff so that we are aware that it's there, and of course, what it does. You know. So if you look at this photograph, once you get used to the features like exposure lock, you can actually turn it now into kind of like what you call a plugin or a feature or an effect. You know. So maybe you wanted to take a picture so it looks a little bit dark. You can do that. Or you want it to be light and bright. You can also do that. So these are the things that we're going to focus on because it depends on the kind of effect that you're going for, you know? So if you want to, you know, something a little bit more dramatic, you probably want to go a little bit darker, you know? If you want something light and airy, you probably want to go a little bit brighter. So these are the sort of things that we're going to be learning in this class. And of course, like I mentioned before, put your phone in airplane mode. If you know you're at a wedding, someone's cutting the cake and your phone just starts ringing, it's not particularly a good look. And it will also interrupt your video. So you always want to, you know, consciously turn that on and then go forward shooting your video. Okay, so here is a demonstration of your cell phone camera shooting slow motion. Almost all of the newer cell phones are capable. I'm just using this as a prop. This is my old iPhone. It's an iPhone 5. It's pretty old. This could shoot slow motion. And I think I got this, I want to say 4 years ago. I don't remember. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get this going for us. In one moment, let me play the video. Here we go. So this is what it looks like. This is shot at 240 frames per second. Now your cell phone is very capable of shooting video like this. So we're going to learn how to do these sort of special effects in this class. Now this is called time-lapse photography. With time-lapse, instead of shooting 240 frames a second, the camera will now shoot about 1 frame per second. So it has this effect of speeding time up. So it looks like this. So this is how this effect is done. And again, we're going to learn how to use these effects. If you notice with this shot, this is done at night on a busy street using a tripod. There's no extra light. Nothing really extra was used to shoot this. So we'll learn how to capture video like this and then how to edit it into a small feature or mini feature type video. Okay, so one of the things that is very handy with cell phones is using a tripod or what's called a gimbal. This is my tripod, and this is a little bit older. It's designed specifically for cell phones. So you take your cell phone and you attach it to the tripod. And you can, this particular model of tripod has dual use. So you can use it, you can hold it like this to shoot video, or you can spread the legs out and just put it down. You know, you put it down like this. And if you're on a Zoom call or maybe you're at a wedding or a speech or something, you can put this on a table or a nearby surface and you just press record and you go on. The newer models of this come with a Bluetooth remote if you want to pay the extra money for it. I think something like this will run you 20, maybe $30. And you can actually set up your cell phone a little distance away, and you can activate the record, or you can turn it off. You can also use it to take pictures. A gimbal device, I don't have one here, but it's an image stabilizer. So when you're moving around, it actually stabilizes your shot. I'll show you that in the next few slides. The next thing that you can do to extend the capability of your cell phone is to use aftermarket lenses. And there are little lenses you can buy and you clip onto your cell phone, and you can add three types of features to your cell phone. You can add a zoom lens, which will take things that are far away and bring them in optically closer to your shot. You can add what's called a wide angle lens. So if you look at this frame right now that I'm being shown in, a wide angle lens would actually expand how much you can see at one time, sometimes by 1.5 the amount. So you get to see more of the lens. And then there's a third type of lens you can use called a macro lens. And a macro lens, people are into this sort of photography, but like you can zoom in on a flower or a bee, an insect, and get really amazing detail. You can see it up close in far more detail than if you just use the regular camera on your cell phone. Now, the other feature to extend the capability of your cell phone is using what's called a lavalier mic. And you've probably seen this on the news. So these little teeny mics, let me show it to you up close. And what you do is you clip it on to someone's clothes. You've probably seen this on the news. So you clip it onto someone's clothes, and you run it underneath the clothes. What it does is it puts a microphone very close to your face, and you get much better audio coming in. So this is, it's a lavalier mic. Now, the other type of microphone that's available as an add-on or as an accessory for your cell phone is called a shotgun mic. I'll show you what a shotgun mic looks like. This is a professional camera rig, and this little furry thing is called a windbreaker. But underneath it, this is what's called a shotgun mic. A shotgun mic is designed to pick up sound far away, and then it focuses the sound in this element and records it. It's designed to ignore sound on the side, but just focus it out there. So there's specific shotgun mics that are out there, and they're available for cell phones. So you can increase the capability of your cell phone by adding these things on. And again, depending on where you pick it up, you can pick one up at Amazon for like maybe, $10, $20, depending on the quality and, of course, the features available with it. So let's take a look at some of these things in a little bit more detail. Okay, so this is one of the newer models of tripods that are specifically built for cell phones. So if you look at this here, it's compact, it folds down, it's telescopic. This particular model, I think I looked it up last week. I want to say it's about $25 plus shipping, something like that. It's less than $30. It comes with a Bluetooth remote that connects to your phone, and you can use it to activate, turn on recording or turn off recording. It extends up to about 3 feet or so. So you can put it on a surface like this, standing by itself, and it stabilizes your shot. So your shot is very steady. So instead of, standing out there holding your cell phone, shaking a little bit, you get rock stable shots, So that's one of the things. I strongly recommend getting a tripod. And also, it's much easier to hold your cell phone like this. I can hold this for quite a long time rather than, than this. So let's say you're at a wedding or something and you're trying to hold this together for like the next 10 minutes, it kind of gets tough. So real quick, this class is designed for people that have iPhones and also Android phones. So can I get a quick poll to see what kind of phones you're using out there? And also, of course, iPads or Android tablets.
I have a Galaxy, Samsung Galaxy.
Okay. So this class is will cover that too. Anybody else got a different type of phone?
I have an iPhone.
Okay. All right. Anyone else?
I have an iPhone 6 Plus.
6 Plus. Okay, fantastic. So all of these phones, what are the things that we're talking about in terms of time lapse, slow motion features? Your phones are capable of doing all of these awesome things. So we'll learn how to do that by the end of this class. Okay, now let's move on to the next slide. Oh yeah, okay. So another thing that's pretty handy about these sort of tripods is that even though this is called portrait shooting and this is horizontal, I can take this and I can also bend it down so that it's sort of like this, Like I use this a lot of times. Sometimes I'm in the kitchen cooking, I'll just put it down, put it on speakerphone and talk. Or if I'm doing like, FaceTime or doing video conferencing, Zoom, that sort of thing, it's extremely handy for this. So if you're doing Zoom, rather than leaning it somewhere and it's not really getting like, your whole shot, you can just adjust these things and it can do that. So you have your multiple angle. Almost every single tripod you buy in the market is capable of doing this sort of thing. So again, you can hold it like this, looking at yourself, doing selfies, or taking pictures. So it's really handy to pick up one of these things when shooting video with your cell phone. Now, these little devices, these are called gimbals. And you can pick one up for about $60, but I mean, this does require a little bit of an investment. What this does is if, let's say I'm walking with my cell phone, there's a little bit of natural movement that occurs, even if I'm trying to hold it as steady as I can, it's going to drift back and forth a little bit. What this gimbal does, it's called gyro stabilization. It'll hold your camera completely steady and it will compensate for any movement. So if you move the camera around and lean it back and forth, the camera will always stay in the same position. You can walk, you can literally run with these things and your image remains rock steady. It works on iPhones and also Galaxy, LG, whatever phone you have, it'll keep your phone steady as you walk. Of course, this requires a little bit of an investment. Like you got to be serious about what you do to go pick one of these up. But if you do, you'll see a massive difference in the quality of your video. And it is very worth it if you're into shooting and editing video. So this is some of the aftermarket lenses I was talking about. You buy them and you clip them onto your phone like this. This particular setup here is a zoom lens. So you would buy something like this, you put it on top of your phone, and it literally turns your camera into one of these guys, your phone. So it's sort of the equivalent of having like one of these lenses, but in miniature. So it works out very good, Now you can zoom in and you can do some of these other functions that you will only find in very expensive DSLR phones, cameras, or mirrorless cameras that cost probably $500-600. Okay, so this is typically when you buy those lens kits, like you pick them up again on Amazon, I think it ranges from $20 or upwards to $100, depending on the quality of lens and a couple of other features. But here we're going to discuss like what's called the wide angle lens. So if we look at the wide angle lens, this is the picture taken by a camera or a cell phone before you put on the extra lens. And this is what happens when you add the wide angle lens. So you see what happens is you capture more of the scenery on the left and also on the right. So it literally expands, what you're seeing on your screen. Now the zoom lenses come in different styles. Sometimes you have 2x zoom lens. Sometimes you have up to 16, some 32. And what zoom lens literally means, it makes the image twice as big. It brings it in closer, but the quality remains the same. So you can buy the lenses depending on what you're shooting. Now, as far as the macro lenses go, let's say I go outside in the garden and I'm taking a picture of a flower. I can probably get it about this close. If I get any closer, then the picture becomes a little bit blurry. But once you use what's called a macro lens, you can get incredible detail. I mean, like you can see literally the pollen on the bee's leg. Now, this is the sort of close-up quality you can get with using a macro lens. Now, there are extreme macro lenses because some people like to do different types of shooting. You have some of these macro lenses that can literally zoom into the hair on your skin and make it as big as this screen right here. So your one hair follicle will probably be, as I would say, as thick as this pen. It'll zoom in that close on it. So there are different ways to extend the capability of your cell phone when shooting video. We're coming here, we're taking a look at the lavalier mics. I think I'd showed you one earlier. There are lavalier mics you can buy for your cell phone. And it's very good if you're in a conference, you're recording yourself, you're interviewing, you're recording music, or you just want to take notes. So you clip it on your clothes and you get extremely good audio. Now, most cell phones are designed so that the microphones are on the bottom of the cell phone. So if you look at your cell phone right now, you'll see that at the bottom you have these little holes. These little holes are the holes that sound comes in, and behind the hole is a microphone. And that's what captures the audio. Your newer cell phones today, typically, they might have 3 or 4 different microphones, And the reason that they do is because depending on how people hold the phone or talk on the phone, it listens to all the microphones, it takes the average sound and then sends it off as your voice. Now, if you use a specific microphone such as a lavalier mic, you get much, much better quality audio when you're shooting video. So that's another thing you can use to extend the ability of your microphone. Now, the next device, this is called a shotgun microphone. Again, it's a aftermarket thing that you can attach to your cell phone. Some of them are different. Some work using Bluetooth. You just clip it to the phone. It'll capture the audio and record it via Bluetooth. Some you plug in. There are different configurations for this. And the effect that a Zoom mic has, just like this one, it picks up sound far away. So if you're, let's say you're out somewhere, you're listening to a speech, if you use the onboard microphone, it's going to pick up pretty much everything, the conversation to the left and right, it's going to come up really sharp. And then the person giving a speech is going to be overshadowed by the people sitting next to you. With a shotgun mic, what happens is the people next to you, sitting next to you or talking next to you, we're not going to hear them. We're barely going to hear them. And the focus of the sound is going to be what's out in front of you. So again, these are just things you can buy to extend the capability of your phone. Do you really need this to shoot video? Well, you don't, but if you can get this stuff, I would recommend it, you know? Now, some of the shotgun mics come with what's called a windbreaker. Have you ever been outside shooting video on a windy day, and when you play the video back, you can barely hear the sound. All you hear is the sound of the wind. What a windbreaker does, this big furry thing, it breaks up the speed of the wind, and then it allows only the sound to get in there. So you don't hear all that huge windy noise. And it's something, so it's very useful if you're, let's say, at a family reunion, or you are at an event that's outside and you cannot control the set and it's windy. It's very handy to have one of these things. So do you have any questions so far? Okay, so probably in our last class, we're going to discuss different applications, because when you look at either an Android phone or Galaxy, LG, whatever phone, the phones themselves come with software that allows you to control the camera. Now, there are the pieces of software you can buy out there, professional pieces of software, like this one. This is called Filmic Pro. It runs about $15. For $15, it literally turns the cell phone in your camera to something like this, you know, because it allows you to manually control all the features of the phone. So all that automatic stabilization, zoom control, frame rate, auto exposure, all of these sort of things, it allows you to get in there and really control all of the features. Extremely handy. So it literally turns your phone into a $400 or $500 camera for only $10. So this is like, it's a really, really great deal. You'll be surprised at all the features that you can get using professional software like this. And again, it's not expensive, you know, $10, $15, and you all of a sudden you get features of a fully featured phone camera like this. So I think I'll try and show you the screen here on this camera. So if you look, I don't know if you can see this, but if you look on the camera, you can see a lot of options and features and things that you can use to control the camera. This software will essentially bring all of this to your cell phone and allow you to treat your cell phone like you're using a camera, like a professional camera like this. It's extremely useful. And what's really great about this sort of thing too, this software, is it allows you to practice this on your cell phone, so that if you're in the market to go buy a real camera, instead of just going into Best Buy or something, you actually walk in there and now you know exactly what kind of features you want, what you're looking for, and what you want to spend your money on. So this is kind of a frame from the Filmic Pro software. If you look, you see all of these little green lines. That's showing you the edge of all of the elements within this frame. So it literally analyzes the camera frame in real time. It tells you if a piece of the footage is overexposed, so you need to bring down the exposure a little bit to get that. It has zebra lines. It has all of these features that you find in very expensive cameras. So I think this is a fantastic piece of software. We will cover this as we move in to the classes, through the classes. Okay, now so far we've gone over quite a few things. This is just one example of what's called a rig. It's a camera rig. But this one is designed for a cell phone. This guy over here that holds my phone, where my hand is right now, this is called a rig. And what the rig does, it allows me to attach all of these different components into just one structure. So this big guy up here This is the camera light. And of course, there's the shotgun mic right here. And then of course, the camera. So if you look at this, this is a similar rig for a cell phone. This one runs about 20 bucks on Amazon. So if you really want to start getting into this sort of thing, I strongly recommend a rig. So it holds your cell phone. This is your cell phone light. And this is your camera. So quite literally, if you have one of the newer cell phones, like I see someone has a Galaxy S8 there, S8 Plus, you can turn your S8 Plus literally into a semi-professional video rig for only, $20. So now you can have all of these things all in one rig and you can use it. Now the feature of a rig also, it forces you to hold the phone a certain way. And the way you hold your phone allows it to be stable. So your shots are more stable. And when you're holding a rig like this, you actually turn with your body. So when you pan back and forth, your shots are more stable. And you'll be amazed at how much better quality video you'll be able to get with something as simple as this. Also, your light. A lot of times we overlook light. So if you use this indoors, you get better video. So and this is even if it's during the daytime. Right now, as I'm talking to you, I'm actually using a light. I'll show it to you here. So just to give you an example. So if I turn the light off, you'll see how this side of my face is dark. What the light does, it illuminates this part of my face, and therefore it gives me better video. So when you have a rig like this, and you're using the software and you're using things like exposure lock, the quality, you will be impressed with the quality of your video. So like, look at this now, half my face is dark. I'm gonna put the light back so you can see the difference. So as you can see now, this part of my face is illuminated and it looks a little bit on par with the left of my face. So these are the topics we're gonna be going over in much more detail as we move in, as we complete the class. Now, there are different types of light. So like this one right here, this is a real simple light. It has some very bright LEDs. This one again runs about 10 or I think it was $15, I'm not sure. During probably next class, I'll have examples of these so you can see what the prices are. You can do that. So it clips right onto the phone. And you can use this at night, or you can use this indoors. It's also extremely great, even outside. So you might be outside, it might be a little gloomy outside like it is today in Georgia, and you can turn the light on and you get much better photographs, much better video. So lighting is extremely important. We're gonna learn how to do all of that so that we can get very high quality video, even before we start editing. Because one of the things that we don't want to do is we don't want to run out, get a little bit mediocre footage, and then try to fix that in editing, because all we do is we degrade the quality of the overall quality of the video. Okay, so now we're going to look at something called aspect ratio. Aspect ratio is the ratio of the width to the ratio of the height. Normally, when you go home and you look at your big screen TV, it has what's called a 16:9 aspect ratio. That means it's 16 times across and by 9 times down. So if this was inches, this would be 16 inches across and this would be 9 inches down, or 16 feet across, 9 inches down. You see the shape everywhere, pretty much. You see it when you go to the movie screens are this way. When you see the newer computer screens and monitors, it's this way also, 16:9. And that's why I encourage everyone to shoot like this rather than this. The only exception would be Instagram Instagram uses a ratio of 1:1, and I'm not sure why they do that, but they're also moving now to the widescreen format because it's a more natural format for shooting. Now, another thing that we're going to look at too, and this is just best practices. So we're going through all of this stuff simply because I want everyone to walk away from this class with all of this knowledge and all of this information, so that even before you start shooting, you're actually doing all of the right things that you need to do. So that way you're always getting really, really good video. So now we're going to talk about framing your shots. Now, what does framing a shot mean? Framing a shot means, like, before you even turn on the camera, you have to ask yourself, what am I shooting and why am I shooting it? Who am I going to show this to? How am I going to display this? So you ask yourself, these really quick questions. So that way, before you even turn the camera on, you have a very good idea of what you want to shoot and how you want to shoot it. So the rule of thirds, I'll show you this in software. You break the screen up into 9 pieces, and you always want to make sure that whoever you're shooting is in the middle. So if you're shooting someone and they're having a speech, don't cut their head off at the top or shoot them too low at the bottom. You always want to make sure that whatever element you're focusing on in your frame is in the middle. If you're outside in the garden and you want to shoot a flower or you want to shoot a bee, for instance, if we go back to the bee shot, let's go back to the bee shot. Yeah. So if we go back to the bee shot, so this is a good way of focusing the shot. You want to make sure it's in the middle, so that way when people look at your video immediately, you force them to focus on what you want to look at. If we look here at the house is the focus of the shot. So we will always want to put this as dead center as possible so that we frame the shot. This is called framing the shot. Same thing if we look down here, we wanted to see the middle of the flower. So what do? We frame the shot. Here, the focus was the wings of the bee. So again, we focus the shot so that we're right in the middle, and the bee and the bee's wings are right in the middle of the shot. So that's typically how we do that. Okay, so this is what's called aspect ratio. If we look at Instagram videos are what's called a 1:1 aspect ratio. It's always square, and it's right in the middle of the screen. This is a really, I guess I'll call it an old way of shooting, because it used to be like this way back in the day. No one really uses it anymore. Instagram brought it back. This is called 4:3. 4:3 is what the old school TVs used to use. Remember the old black and white and color, the big ones with the tube that sat in your living room? They were called 4:3 video. So when the old television programs, that were always shot so that the focus is in the middle and the framing is done with a 4:3 aspect ratio. Now today, most of the aspect ratio work is in what's called 16:9 aspect ratio. The 16:9 aspect ratio, that's what you would find on almost all the big screen TVs and also computer monitors, iPads, tablets, laptops, cell phones, the whole nine. That's what you would find on almost all of them are 16:9 ratio. It's called the golden mean. Now, you also have some extreme aspect ratios like 21:9. This is mostly used by people that do a lot of video editing, people that do multimedia type work. You're not typically going to find a 21:9 aspect ratio in a home or in a movie theater. So this is what's called the aspect ratio, and we have to be aware of it, which is why we don't shoot vertically. We always shoot horizontally. When you shoot like this, your camera captures 16:9 aspect ratio video. Oh, sorry, that's not the last slide. Okay, so do you have any questions?
Yes, Victor, are we gonna get a handout of all of the each week's lessons so that we can go back and remember what you just taught us?
Yes, yeah, I will. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. I'll send this out to everyone as a PDF file. What I would need though is I'll need your email addresses, and so I can go back because it's really a lot of information. And what I want people just be comfortable with this stuff and be aware of this. So, yes, absolutely. Actually, what I can do now is let me grab your email addresses, and I can email this the presentation to you, so that you have the information and you can go back and reference it. But the good thing about this, even though it's a lot of information, once you start shooting and editing video, you're actually going to remember all of this stuff. I know it's a lot today to take in. So Sharon, what's your email address?
It's in the chat.
Oh, it's in the chat. Okay. One moment. I'm sharing. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Let me take a look at that and see. Okay. So if everyone can send me their email address in the chat, that'll be awesome. So I can, let me copy and paste these so I can send these after the class.
One thing that I've taken away from today's class that I won't forget is to shoot landscape.
Yes, yes. I know. So that's really good. Okay, thank you, Sharon. Let me get yours. Another thing too that we'll just go over some quick features, some things to remember. Is D? No, okay, I've got D. Just one more person. Okay, who has the Galaxy S8 Plus? I don't know. Anyway, if you want me to email the presentation to you, just send me your email address, and then we can do that. Is that okay with everyone? One moment, please. There's some more information I want to share with you real quick. One moment, let me pull it up. So how's the class so far? I mean, was it too much at one time?
This was a good overview of what we're gonna be learning in the class. So,
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna basically you're gonna break each day. We're gonna cover a couple of concepts that you went over today a day. Or?
Yes, that is correct. So one of the things that we're going to do is, and I just want to just go over this today so that when we're using the software, when we're actually doing the editing, we actually know what this is all about, and we know why we're doing what we're doing. You know, rather than, because it'll be really difficult if I didn't sort of go through this, and then further down I just keep bombarding you with new stuff. So with this, I think we're going to have an easier time once we start using the software. Okay.
So because everybody has a different phone, are you saying that the video editing software in each one of our cameras will be the same?
Well, yes. Even though, like, if you look at an Android phone or an LG phone or a Samsung phone or Galaxy, there are really two major operating systems or types of software. You have the iPhone version of the software, and then you also have the Android. So we're going to be looking at two different types of software, and the concepts for a camera are the same. So even if you have a Motorola, Samsung, whatever camera or phone you have, it'll work for everyone in the class. So that's not going to be a problem at all. So I designed the class so it covers both of these aspects. Okay, let's just go back here. So, okay, I think I have everyone's email address. One of the other things that we're also going to be learning is it's called composition. All of these things are really just practical ways that we shoot pictures, you know, how to control the scene, how to do composition, that sort of stuff. And let me show you some examples of what I mean by that. One moment, let me pull it up for you. So let's say we have, let me share my screen. So these are some of the things that we're going to be learning here. So let's take a look at this sort of photo. Now, it just looks like an innocent, normal photo. But one of the things that we want to do is, first of all, and I'm just showing a photo just to demonstrate the video. First of all, we're not shooting like this. We're shooting horizontally. And then you see how we want to make his face. This is called compositing. We want to make his face the focus of the picture. So when we show this, or when we show this scene, or when we show this photo to someone else, we want them to immediately focus on this element of the frame, which is this gentleman. So if you look now, the sun is probably pointing at his face in this direction. And then we have a little natural backlight and we see all the detail in his face. And because the camera, we instruct the phone to focus only on his face. So the computer in the phone will zoom right here. Let me go to the laser pointer. So it'll zoom right here on his face, and then everything else will be out of focus. So when we show people this shot, we don't want them to focus on this person. We want them to focus on this person here. So these are the sort of things that we're going to be learning. We're going to learn how to do this with software. We're going to learn how to do this with our cell phones, and we're going to do this together in a classroom. So we're going to sit down. We're going to learn how to make the best of our cell phones. And then once you learn this class and you start taking video, you might want to go out there and extend the capability of your video by buying some of these extra accessories that'll expand the capability of your phone. Okay. And then, so we're going to talk about a couple of other things that also happen with our shots. We'll learn how to use black and white. So we can take a photo, just a regular photo or video, and use video editing software and convert that. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to pull up some of these things for you so you can actually see what I'm talking about. So we'll learn how to extend the capability of your cell phone by adding all these awesome extra capabilities. Okay. Okay, so if we look at this shot is pretty interesting. The one thing that I want to teach with the class when it comes to editing, editing is just not a thing by itself. Editing goes hand in hand with taking video. As a professional, one of the things I did at first was I started off video editing. I never was, I didn't have a video camera. I didn't go out there and shoot video myself. I would take video from other people. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you see my screen, by the way? Oh, no, you cannot. Let me share. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, so this is what I wanted to show. So this is just a normal meal. I would go out and I would get other people's video and then edit it. Now, I learned a very interesting thing, because I would sit there, it'd be 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm editing. I have to meet this deadline. And then I was like, man, if I was there shooting the video myself, I would shoot it this way because when I edit it, it's going to end up looking a lot better, Okay, so that's why when I did the class, we sort of went backwards, learned all the features, and then we move forward. So when you look at this, you want to emphasize, of course, the Asian food, the bowl, the shadows, and all of this sort of thing. So therefore, you shoot it in that particular manner. When you look at this, again, we're shooting in portrait mode. Landscape. And we're doing this where if you look, it's a nice steady shot and it's interesting, vibrant, it's got lots of colors. So these are sort of techniques that you're going to be picking up by the end of this class. You're going to learn how to visually focus the shot and make people look at the motorcycles. Because when you look at this picture immediately, you're looking at the vibrant colors. The picture forces you to focus on specific aspects of the shot. And that's one of the things, even before you turn your video camera on, you ask yourself, okay, I'm shooting this video, but what's the focus of this? Why am I shooting this video? If I want someone else to see this video, what do I want them to focus on? What do I want them to see? And that's where we learn things like compositing and framing. So this is, again, it's another interesting shot. Again, also shot in landscape. When we're looking at this, we want people to focus on the details in the leaves, not so much the background. Because you see the background now, it's in the upper thirds, and it's not in the lower 2/3. So we want people to focus here on the leaves. So let's say we come back here, we take a look at a shot like this. This is also another interesting one. What are we focused on? Not so much the lady. She's part of the shot. She adds an element to the shot. It's called staging, but we really just want to just focus on the table, the newspaper, and her walking stick. Let's go back and take a look at some of the other things that we do. So that what we just looked there was just called viewer direction. That is, once we shoot the video, we want people to focus on specific things in our shot, and what I showed you were individually single shots, but what we're going to learn how to do by the end of this program is we're going to take all of those individual shots, put them all together, and then we create a focus of video editing. So let's say I want to focus on, we go to a wedding or a family reunion, or let's say, hey, it was my grandmother's 85th birthday. One of the things that we want to do is, and there's a church service. So I just don't go to church and turn the camera on and start shooting grandma, right? Outside the church, before I even go in, I'll stop, take 10 seconds and just, shoot the church a little bit, or shoot the outside of the church, capture the name of the church in one of the frames. and then just stop there. Then I'll go in, maybe get a shot of the preacher, get a shot of the inside of the church and of people in there. And then eventually after the service, we'll go back home to grandma. We cut her cake. It's her birthday and do all that kind of stuff. So by the time you're done with the class, you start to automatically think like a professional videographer. What elements are in my shot? What am I going to use so that when whoever sees this, they know it's about grandma? You know, everything in this shot, everything in the video that we're editing, all of it is in support of demonstrating and showing anyone looking at this that it is in fact about grandma. So one of the things that we also learn to do is to see how cameras see. You're not always going to have you're not always going to have a rig ready. Sometimes you might just be somewhere doing something and boom, you've got to whip out your camera and shoot some video. Number one rule, always clean your lens. Always clean your lens. So make sure you have like one of those little microfiber cloths. You clean your lens, you hold it, and you shoot, and you get your good audio. So let's say this one is called, you know, controlling the set. Now there are two types of ways of shooting. One is called a control set, and one is called an uncontrolled set. A control set, let's say you had a small get-together, friends, family, that is what I could call a control set, because you can tell people, hey, you know what, if you don't mind, can you move away from the window so we don't get backlight? Everyone, you know, the window is going to be behind me and I'll shoot you this way. So that way the window is illuminating your subjects, because now you can somewhat control the elements of the living room or space that you're in. That's called a control set. Now, if you're out in the middle of an uncontrolled set is where a device like this comes in very handy. You might be at a family reunion, a wedding, you're outside, who knows where you are, right? You cannot control or exert control of the set. So if something is in the way or an area is dark or something, then you have to improvise. And that's where, if you have your own light, you have your own mic where you can avoid the loud noises, then that's when these rigs are important. So that's why we have these sort of things. This camera is designed for uncontrolled sets. That means I'll show up somewhere, I have no idea what's going on. I don't know what to expect, but the rig and the setup that I have allows me to compensate for things and still achieve the best quality video that I can achieve, given that you just show up and you start shooting. So part of the whole editing exercise is to learn all of these techniques so that it becomes second nature to you. After we will actually shoot some video, and we're all going to practice how to edit and how to do a really good job. And I'll show you how awesome it is when you take all of these elements and you put it together, and you get a nice little video out of it. Now, another thing that we typically, what we do when we shoot is called staging the shot. And we can do that if we come right back here to this table. When we look at this, a lot of times in professional videography, things look random, but they really aren't. We will do what's called staging the shot. So I do this all the time. So I'm at a party, a wedding party or something like that. And, you know, someone is holding a bottle of beer. And it's like, oh, you know what? You can put the beer, you know, just put the beer to the side a little bit and let's take the shot without the beer. So we're not focusing on that, or, you know, your liquor. So you want to arrange people. You want to move something that's going to take away from the shot. You move it to the side, or you move the people away from the shot, because you always have to remember when you're going in there, you're going in there for a purpose, and that purpose is you want to frame the shot. You have one element that you want to shoot about, and you want to make that the focus of everything that you do. So one of the other things that we wanted to do is multiple shots. So, and this really is not so much video, but with just regular photography. Typically, if I'm at taking a group photo, let's say you have like 10 people out there, a lot of folks will come in and just take, one shot. Now, the problem with that, if you're getting paid as a professional to take these photos, I can almost guarantee you somebody's blinking, somebody's looking off to the side, somebody's doing something, right? And typically that kind of like ruins the shot. So you have this 9 people all staring at you, and you have this one person doing this or picking their nose or they're blinking, whatever. So if you're ever in a situation like that, what I encourage people to do, take at least 3 shots of the same photograph. Typically one of them will pop out. Me as a professional photographer, I take several. So I might take 6 or 8 shots. My camera can do is like click, 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 click. So I'll come back when I edit it, 9 times out of 10, I will get a perfect shot with everybody in focus and everybody looking at the camera, and everything is okay. All right, well, we're getting towards the end of the class. Are there any questions or anything you would like to see next week that you would want me to focus on?
I have a question.
Yes.
In terms of video editing, are you familiar with a program called DaVinci?
Yes, I am. Yes.
So the video editing software that we're going to learn about for our cameras, will it be comparable to something like a DaVinci, or it has a lot less limitations, or?
The DaVinci software is extremely, this is professional grade stuff that they use to do movies. It's a very expensive set. A lot of the basic features that we're going to be looking at on your cell phone, you can do with DaVinci. And even with DaVinci can do a lot of amazing things, but we come right back to the basics, which is capturing good video and capturing good sound. If you don't capture good video, if you don't capture good sound, DaVinci can do what it do, but it's still going to be limited by what you capture. Now, what we're going to focus on is by capturing good video and good sound, I can literally teach you how to edit so that even if someone had a DaVinci set, it'll look very comparable. You wouldn't even be able to tell. So a lot of the features we find, like compositing, fade in, fade out, aspect ratio, some of the effects. So things like taking a color photo, black and white, doing color correction, color grading, that sort of thing, green screening, compositing. We can do that on your cell phone, quite literally. It's very doable. So I'm not saying your cell phone is DaVinci now, but what I'm saying is we can get close to that,
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great. That's what I wanted to know. I was hoping to learn the techniques, and capturing good video so that I wouldn't have to like download a DaVinci or any other video editing type software. So that's great. This is great.
Yeah. So that's why the first class, the emphasis really was on, okay, how you hold the camera. And, and I want people to hold it like this so it's not shaky, or like this, because a lot of people are comfortable holding it like this, but then you lose 2/3 of the frame. It's gone. It's all just black. So you hold it steady and you practice. Like even now, I can, even with one hand, I'll hold it rock steady. And then I've taught myself to, twist like this, rather than irking and jerking it all over the place, because you'll be amazed. Once you get in and you start editing the video you shot, it forces you to go back and take better video, because when you're editing it, you're like, oh man, I shouldn't have shaked the camera like that in that piece. Or, oh, that part's too dark. I should have probably leaned like this a little bit more. You know what I mean? So the more you edit, the more you start to realize, and you will self-improve. It's the coolest. It's very cool. It's a very neat thing, because that's what happened. That's how I learned how to edit good video.
I have a question.
Yes.
to teach somebody on YouTube. You know, and I wanted to edit the video. A lot of this stuff is good for that too, right? I mean, I would need a tripod to look at myself in the light and all that.
Yes.
The same technique. That was the question. Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is you wanna shoot video, but then you like to get video from YouTube also?
No, it was like, say I want to video myself,
Mm-hmm.
like a selfie, a video teaching on YouTube.
Yes.
Or something like YouTube. But it sounds like I would still need a lot of what you're teaching now.
Yes, yeah, you would. Like if you really want to do something nice on YouTube, like selfie style, one of the things you want to do, you want to get a tripod.
Okay.
And one of the things, and I'm happy you asked that question because I actually helped someone do this like less than 2 weeks ago. So just with a little bit of lighting, you know, she took a picture of her living room area where she would be shooting her video. And I was like, okay, so this is what you want to do. If the sun is really bright, you want to pull that curtain, you want to aim the camera this way and adjust your light, just small things. And the quality of her video is like vastly improved. So these are the sort of things I'll teach in this class so that, and again, you don't have to run out and spend a lot of money, but it's the techniques that are very important, you know. As a matter of fact, with all the stuff I showed with the external microphones and all the lenses and all that kind of stuff, you really don't need that, you know.
Okay.
Just this, I would really strongly suggest you get a tripod though, a minimum, you know. So
where would you get a tripod?
You can order it on Amazon, or you can even go to Best Buy and, you know, pick one up. Walmart should have some of those.
Okay.
Even though I haven't gone there to look for it, but I believe they should, or even Walmart online.
Is there a certain brand?
Huh?
Is there a certain brand, or it doesn't matter?
It really doesn't matter because all it does, it just holds your camera. What I would say is if you're going to be doing YouTube videos, try and get one that has a remote control Bluetooth clicker.
Okay.
So that way, you know, if you're sitting, you know, your video isn't going to show you reaching out and pushing the phone. You know what I mean? So you can just sit here and the clicker will be in your hand and you can just click it and then you start talking, you know?
Oh, wow.
So another thing too that I also teach people is when you're doing like the YouTube type videos, you turn the camera on, you wait like maybe 2 seconds, then you start talking, you know? And then when you go, okay, bye everyone, see you later. And then you leave the camera on for another 2-3 seconds and then you turn it off. So what that does is it gives you time to edit and then, you know, match up the video when you're editing. So like if you just come and you turn it on and you go, hi, you have very little room left for correction or editing, you know? So these are like the little tips and tricks that take your video from just regular to professional grade, you know? Each class is going to have one of these. So at the end, I can send them to you individually. And so you have a record of the class. So we'll go over lighting. And one of the things I really want to focus on is how to use stuff you have around at home to get good video. So if you got a lamp or two in your living room, you know, or an extra light here or there somewhere, I'll show you how to blend all those elements in together so that you don't have to run out. I don't want y'all to run out and go spend a whole lot of money because you can do this.
Don't worry.
Stuff you got laying around the house, you know what I mean? And just by doing a couple of things differently, you'll be amazed at the quality difference that you can get. Another thing too that, and I apologize, I forgot to mention, is when you look at the phone and you look under here, you see all the small holes. A common mistake that people do, this is where the sound comes in. So that's why, you know, I encourage people to hold the phone like this. If you hold the phone like this, you're blocking the mic. So your audio is going to be bad, you know? So that's why you want to hold it sort of like this. Okay.
This is awesome. It's gonna be an awesome class. I'm excited.
Yes. So, and if you really wanted to get into the professional grade stuff, this is why you can buy like software, like I was telling. It's just a small app, 10, $15, and then you can really get in there and edit and tighten up your video. Now it's going to be a process. First, we're going to learn how to edit and also learn how to shoot. And then by the time you learn how to do both, your video is going to come out great. So I'm really excited that you're here, and we'll pick it up again next week because I think we're running out of time. I have to get off because there's another class behind. So thank you very much, ladies, for attending. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Very
you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.